All right, so today we're going to deep dive into how to prepare for a sewing machine operator interview. And we're going to do it with the help of some resources from RoleCatcher. They've got career guides, sample interview questions, and even some AI tools that can help us get ready.
Yeah, and it's really cool that we're not just going to be memorizing answers here. We're really going to try to think like the interviewer, really understand what they're looking for and figure out how to craft those perfect responses that highlight your skills and your passion.
I like it. So where do we even begin?
Well, I think a good place to start is always with the basics, right? And RoleCatcher has a great career guide that lays out what it takes to really thrive as a sewing machine operator.
I was checking that out.
Yeah.
It actually paints a pretty optimistic picture of the job market. It's stable, there's room for creativity, you can even go the self-employment route eventually.
Exactly. And that's something you can definitely play up in the interview. Show them that you're thinking long term. Maybe you dream of specializing in a certain type of sewing, or even starting your own alterations business someday.
I love that. But the guide also doesn't shy away from the demands of the job. The repetitive tasks, the need for physical stamina, and the constant need to adapt to new technology.
True. It's not all sunshine and roses, but that's where your adaptability comes in. In the interview, you want to show them that you're a lifelong learner who's not afraid of a challenge. Mention any workshops you've taken, online tutorials you follow, maybe even times you taught yourself a new technique just for fun.
I see. So it's about proving that you're eager to grow and evolve with the industry. But I think it's time to get to the heart of the matter. The interview questions themselves. RoleCatcher suggests prepping for 9 key questions, and we're going to tackle them all right here.
Let's do it. Let's start with the classic. What experience do you have operating industrial sewing machines?
Sounds pretty straightforward,
Hmm.
but I'm guessing there's a bit more to it than just listing the machines you've used.
You got it. Don't just rattle off names. Think about specific projects where you use those machines. Did you work on anything particularly challenging or unique? Did you master a specific technique on a particular model? Bring those experiences to life. Give them something to picture.
Right. They're not just looking for promises. They want proof.
Exactly. And they want to see that you can handle different types of machines. So mentioning specific brands like Juki Brother Pfaff, even model numbers if you can remember them, it shows that you're not just a casual sewer, your stuff.
Details matter.
Got it.
All right. So moving on to question number 2, this one's about quality control. How do you ensure the quality of your work when operating a sewing machine?
Everyone's going to say attention to detail, right? So you got to go deeper. Give concrete examples. Do you have a special inspection process? Do you use a seam gauge religiously? Do you have like a little trick for catching tiny flaws before they become big problems?
Ooh, I bet a story about a time you saved the day by catching a mistake would really make an impact.
Absolutely. All right, question 3. This one gets real.
Yeah.
How do you troubleshoot sewing machine problems?
Machines jam, threads break. It's bound to happen. So how do we convince them that we can handle it?
You demonstrate a systematic approach. Don't just guess you know. Walk them through your process. Pick a common problem, like thread tension, and say something like, first I check the tension dial. Then I inspect the thread path for snags. If that doesn't work, I consult the machine's manual.
I like that. It shows you're calm under pressure. You have a process. You don't just panic.
Exactly. All right, up next question for sergers.
How do you operate a serger machine?
Now, sergers are a key part of garment production, so this is where you really get to shine. Go beyond the basics, mention specific types of serger stitches like rolled hems, flat locks, seams, the fancy stuff.
So what are we aiming for here?
You want to showcase your mastery. Do you have a go-to serger technique that you're particularly proud of? Share that. It demonstrates your passion and your expertise.
Show, not tell. All right, on to question 5. This one gets a little fancy. How do you handle delicate fabrics when operating a sewing machine?
This is where you highlight your finesse. Talk about your experience with silks, laces, those tricky fabrics, and emphasize the extra care you take adjusting tension, using specific needles, even hand basting seams if necessary.
It's all about those little details that separate the pros from the amateurs.
Exactly. And a well-placed anecdote about a time you successfully tackled a super delicate fabric will really seal the deal.
Okay, question 6. It's all about prioritization. How do you prioritize your work when operating multiple sewing machines or working on multiple projects? This is where those organizational skills come into play.
Absolutely. Highlight your system. Whether it's a planner to-do lists or even project management tools like Trello or Asana, RoleCatcher actually suggests mentioning these tools. It shows you're tech-savvy and organized.
So don't be afraid to name drop those apps. It's about proving that you can manage your time and meet those deadlines.
Precisely. Question 7 is an interesting one. Have you mentored other sewing machine operators? If so, how do you approach teaching them about the machines and troubleshooting?
Hmm. So this is a chance to show off a bit of leadership potential.
Exactly. Even if you haven't formally mentored anyone, you can still talk about how you would explain a process or help someone solve a problem. Highlight your ability to communicate clearly and break down those complex concepts.
Makes sense. Okay, on to question 8. How do you stay up to date with new sewing machine technology?
This is where you show them you're passionate about the industry and you're always learning. Mention industry publications, online forums, workshops you've attended.
It's all about proving that you're invested in your craft and you're not afraid of new technologies.
Precisely. And finally, question 9. Can you give an example of when you had to problem solve on a difficult sewing project?
This is where you get to shine as a creative problem solver.
Pick a challenging project and walk them through your process. What were the obstacles? How did you analyze the situation? Did you research solutions? Did you experiment with techniques? Did you collaborate with others?
So it's about showing your ingenuity and resilience, even when things get tough.
You got it. Now we've covered the questions, but there's one more layer to this prep process that can really make a difference.
Ooh, what's that?
RoleCatcher's AI. It's like having a personalized interview coach in your pocket.
Okay, now that sounds interesting. Tell me more.
Well, their AI can actually analyze job descriptions and help you tailor your answers for each specific role. And get this, they can even provide feedback on your video practice sessions.
Wait, so it's like having a virtual mock interview with an expert who can give you personalized pointers.
Exactly. It's an amazing tool for refining your responses and making sure they're perfectly aligned with the needs of each employer.
Now, that's pretty incredible. Let's
Yeah.
definitely dive deeper into how that works.
Okay, so let's jump back into those interview questions and see if we can unpack them a little bit more.
Sounds good. I'm ready for round 2.
All right, so remember that first question about experience with industrial sewing machines. Details are key. Don't just say, I've used a single needle lock stitch machine. Be specific. You know, I'm proficient with a Juki DDL 8700, which I used extensively on a project involving heavyweight denim. I also have experience with a Brother PQ 1500 SL, which was my go-to for a delicate silk chiffon project.
Wow, that paints such a vivid picture. It's like I'm right there in your workspace.
Exactly. You want to make your experience tangible and memorable. Now, what if they follow up with something like, what were some of the challenges you faced while working on those projects?
Ooh, good question. It's a chance to show how you handle those curveballs.
Right. You could talk about how you had to adjust the tension settings for the thick denim, or how you meticulously tested different needles to find the perfect one for the silk chiffon. Maybe you even had to do some research or consult with a colleague to overcome a specific obstacle.
Sharing those problem-solving moments really makes you stand out.
Absolutely. Okay, moving on to question 2 about quality control. Remember, we want to go beyond the generic attention to detail response. So instead of just saying that, you could say something like, I have a multi-step inspection process that I follow for every garment. First, I visually inspect each seam, looking for any missed stitches or puckering. Then I use a seam gauge to ensure consistent seam allowances. Finally, I give the garment a final press checking for any imperfections.
That level of detail really shows that you're meticulous and you take pride in your work. What if they ask for a specific example? Can you give me an example of a time you caught a potential quality issue before it became a bigger problem?
Perfect opportunity. You could share a story about noticing a slight misalignment in a pattern piece, or a tiny flaw in the fabric that could lead to a major defect if you hadn't caught it.
Those real-world examples add so much credibility to your claims.
All right, let's tackle the troubleshooting question. Remember, we want to demonstrate a systematic approach, not just random guessing. So you might start by saying, when troubleshooting sewing machine problems, I always begin by identifying the symptom. Is the thread breaking? Is the machine skipping stitches? Is the fabric feeding unevenly?
That shows you're thinking logically, not just panicking.
Right. Then you can delve into your troubleshooting process for a specific problem. For example, if the thread is breaking, I'd first check the tension dial. Make sure it's set appropriately for the fabric and thread type. Then I'd inspect the thread path for any burrs or rough spots. If those steps don't resolve the issue, I'd consult the machine's manual or seek guidance from a more experienced technician.
That's a great example.
Right.
It shows you're resourceful and you know when to ask for help. It also highlights your knowledge of different thread types and tension settings.
Exactly. What if they follow up with something like, have you ever encountered a particularly challenging machine problem that requires some creative problem solving?
Ooh, now that's a chance to really shine.
You could talk about a time you had to improvise a repair with limited resources, or how you scoured online forums to find a solution to a rare machine malfunction. Maybe you even collaborated with colleagues to brainstorm solutions.
Those stories show that you can think on your feet and you don't give up easily.
All right, let's move on to sergers. Remember, it's all about showcasing your specialized skills here. You could start by saying something like, I'm proficient in operating a variety of serger machines, including 3-thread, 4-thread, and 5-thread models.
Boom. Instant credibility.
Right. Then you can showcase your understanding of different serger stitches and their applications. You could say, I'm comfortable creating a variety of serger finishes from a basic overlock stitch to a more specialized rolled hem or flatlock seam. For example, I frequently use a 4-thread overlock stitch for finishing seam allowances on garments, while a 3-thread narrow overlock stitch is my go-to for creating a delicate rolled hem on lightweight fabric.
That level of detail shows you really know your stuff.
And to really tie it back to their needs, you could add something like, I'm also familiar with differential feed and how to adjust it to create different effects like gathering or stretching the fabric.
That shows you're thinking ahead and considering how your skills can benefit their production process. What if they ask, can you describe a time when your serger skills were essential for completing a complex project?
Perfect opportunity to highlight a specific project where your serger mastery made all the difference. Maybe you're working on a garment with intricate seam finishes, or you had to create a custom serger stitch to achieve a specific design element.
It's all about those success stories.
Now let's talk about delicate fabrics. This is where you showcase your finesse and attention to detail. You might start by saying, I have extensive experience working with a wide range of delicate fabrics, including silk charmeuse chiffon lace and velvet.
It's like you're speaking their language.
And then you delve into the specific techniques you use to handle them with care. When working with delicate fabrics, I always adjust the tension settings to prevent puckering or stretching. I also choose the appropriate needle size and type to avoid damaging the fabric. For extremely delicate fabrics, I might even hand-base seams before machine sewing to ensure perfect alignment.
Those details really show that you understand fabric properties. What if they ask, have you ever encountered a situation where you had to get creative to successfully sew a particularly challenging, delicate fabric?
That's where you can talk about those problem-solving moments. Maybe you had to research unique sewing techniques or experiment with different stabilizer options. Maybe you even collaborated with a more experienced seamstress to find the best approach.
It's about showing that you're resourceful and you're willing to go the extra mile.
Okay, let's move on to that prioritization question. Remember, it's all about showcasing your organizational skills and ability to handle multiple tasks. You could start by saying, I'm a highly organized individual with a proven track record of managing multiple projects simultaneously.
That's a strong opening statement.
Then you can get into your specific strategies. I utilize a combination of tools and techniques to stay organized, including to-do lists, project management apps like Trello, and clear communication with my supervisors and colleagues.
Love that you mentioned those project management apps. It shows you're tech savvy.
And to really drive it home, you could add, when prioritizing tasks, I always consider deadlines, urgency, and the complexity of each project. I also break down larger projects into smaller, more manageable steps to ensure steady progress.
It's like you're reading my mind. That's exactly what I'd be looking for in a candidate. Now, what if they say something like, can you give me an example of a time you had to juggle multiple demanding projects? How did you handle it?
That's your chance to really shine. Share a specific example of your prioritization skills in action. Describe a time when you had to balance several projects with tight deadlines. Maybe they involved different fabrics, sewing techniques, or client requirements.
Walking them through your thought process and how you manage those competing demands, that's gold.
Okay, let's shift gears to question 7 about mentoring. Even if you haven't had a formal mentoring role, you can still demonstrate leadership potential by sharing your approach to teaching and knowledge sharing.
Right. It's about those moments where you've helped others learn or solve problems.
You could say something like, I'm passionate about sharing my knowledge and helping others develop their sewing skills. I believe in clear communication patience and breaking down complex tasks into smaller, more manageable steps.
That really conveys your enthusiasm for teaching.
And then you could add a specific example, even if it's informal, For instance, I recently helped a colleague troubleshoot a tension issue on their machine. We worked together to identify the problem, consulted the machine's manual, and ultimately found a solution. It was rewarding to see them gain confidence in their abilities.
Those collaborative moments really stand out.
All right, let's move on to question 8 about staying up to date with sewing machine technology. This is where you demonstrate your passion for the industry and your commitment to continuous learning.
Right. It's about showing that you're eager to embrace new advancements.
Exactly. You could start by saying something like, I'm a firm believer in staying ahead of the curve in this ever-evolving industry. I make it a priority to keep abreast of the latest sewing machine technologies and techniques.
That's a great way to set the stage.
Then you can provide specific examples. I regularly attend industry trade shows and conferences, subscribe to trade publications like Stitches and Apparel, and I follow online forums where professionals share insights and tips.
It shows you're actively seeking out knowledge.
And don't forget to mention any hands-on experience you have with new technologies. You could add, I recently took a workshop on computerized embroidery machines, and I'm excited to explore the creative possibilities they offer.
That shows initiative.
Now for that final question about problem solving. Remember, choose a challenging project that allows you to showcase your ingenuity and resilience.
It's storytelling time.
Right. You could start by describing the project and its specific challenges. For example, I was once tasked with creating a prototype for a complex garment involving multiple layers of delicate fabric and intricate seam finishes.
Ooh, that sounds tricky.
And then you walk them through your process. I first researched different sewing techniques and consulted with experienced colleagues to gather insights. I experimented with various seam finishes and stabilizers until I found the perfect combination to achieve the desired look and functionality. There were definitely moments of frustration, but I persevered and ultimately delivered a successful prototype.
That's a great example. It shows you're willing to research, experiment, and collaborate to find solutions. And emphasizing your perseverance really highlights your dedication to quality.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground with these interview questions. We've explored how to approach each question, how to provide specific examples, and how to showcase your skills and experience in the best possible light.
I feel like I could ace an interview right now.
But wait, there's more. Remember that secret weapon we talked about, RoleCatcher's AI? Let's dive into how that can take your preparation to the next level.
Okay, so let's talk about this RoleCatcher AI. It sounds like it could be a real game changer.
It really is. It's like having a personal coach in your pocket guiding you through the whole process.
But how does it actually work?
Well, it starts by, uploading the job description for the sewing machine operator role you're interested in.
Okay.
And then RoleCatcher's AI goes to work. It analyzes the language, looks for keywords and phrases, and it tries to figure out what the employer is really looking for.
So it's like it's reading between the lines, kind of like a detective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It goes beyond just, matching your skills to the listed requirements. It tries to understand the nuances of the role, the company's specific needs.
That's impressive.
Yeah.
But how does that actually help with the interview?
Well, once it's analyzed the job description, it can give you tailored suggestions for your interview responses.
Oh, so it's not just generic advice. It's actually personalized for the job I'm applying for.
Exactly. Like, let's say the job description emphasizes experience with high-speed industrial sewing machines. The AI might suggest that you highlight your experience with a specific model known for its speed and efficiency. Or it might prompt you to quantify your production output, to prove that you can handle those high demands.
That's so smart. It takes the guesswork out of it.
And here's the best part. It can even provide feedback on your delivery. They have this video practice feature where you record yourself answering common interview questions.
Wait, so it's like a virtual mock interview?
Exactly. The AI analyzes your video, looks at your body language, your tone of voice. It can even pick up on subtle cues like nervous habits or a lack of eye contact.
Wow. It's like having a secret weapon to help you polish your performance.
It's all about giving you the tools and insights you need to shine.
I love it. This whole deep dive has been so helpful. We've talked about the career itself, we break down those tough interview questions, and now we even have this AI secret weapon to help us prepare.
Remember, it's not just about memorizing answers. It's about showing your passion, your expertise, your willingness to learn and grow in this industry.
Exactly. And with the right preparation and tools, you can walk into that interview feeling confident and ready to impress. But before we go, I wanted to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Oh, I love a good final thought.
Well, RoleCatcher mentioned that automation is becoming more common in the garment industry. So how can aspiring sewing machine operators stay ahead of the curve? How can they make sure their skills stay in demand, even as technology keeps changing?
That's a great question. It's something we all need to be thinking about. Maybe it's about learning how to use those computerized machines and automated systems. Or maybe it's about specializing in a niche area where human skill and craftsmanship will always be valuable.
The future of work is always evolving, that's for sure. But by staying curious and adaptable and always willing to learn, I think anyone can thrive in this industry. So best of luck to all those sewing machine operators out there preparing for interviews. You got this.